Welcome students, welcome to today's session. Myself Pushpalata, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering. In this current semester, you are having Strength of Metals, one subject, which is like a continuation for engineering mechanics. So, what you have learned about engineering mechanics or what are the subjects or concepts you have dealt in engineering mechanics is nothing but you are having some bodies and which are having some external forces application. Due to the external force application, the body is showing some results in the movement or positional change manner only. But now in our strength of metals, we will observe the bodies and having internal effects due to the application of external forces. Those internal effects occurring due to application of those external forces will be dealt in this whole semester. Okay. So what are the contents involved in this strength of metals 1? So the first chapter is simple stresses and strains, and then shear force and bending moment diagrams for the beams, and then flexural and shear stresses in the beams, and then the deflection of the beams, finally thin and thick cylinders. So the first unit is covering about simple stresses and strains. It is involving the concepts of elasticity, plasticity, working stress, the concept of Hooke's law, and the stresses in different types of composite bars and thermal stresses in such type of bars. We will go through the chapter continuously, we can get all the knowledge. And these are the reference books and the main textbooks which we use for this semester are the textbook of Strength of Materials by R.K. Rajput and Strength of Metals by R.K. Bansal. These two books are available in our library. You can go through with them also. So, firstly, I am going into the concept of strength of metals. What do you mean by strength of material? When we see any material, so we want to suggest to work in some construction. Generally, as a civil engineer, what we will do, whether the material is having sufficient strength to handle the load, that we will check before and then we will suggest for the working. So the strength, the concept or the meaning of strength is there itself. When we give any external load on the body, that body should resist the deformations produced or the changes produced by the external load. So that I have written here. So when any external force is acting on a body, that body tends to undergo some deformation. Whatever the change we give, that body gives the output. But due to the cohesion is nothing but interaction. You have already learned about particle-particle interactions and cohesions of the particles. Due to such cohesion between those molecules, the body still resists the deformation caused by the external load. So, this resistance is being offered by the body for resisting that external force. That resistance of the deformation, we call it as strength of that material. So, when we want to use any hard material, we will say hard material is needed here. Like in the place of brick, shall we use sponge? Because that will not give sufficient strength like a brick gives. So, the strength of that corresponding material is nothing but it should resist the deformations produced by the load. So, in this strength of metals, we have mainly two parameters. One is stress, other one is strain. So, what do you mean by stress? Stress is nothing but the force of resistance offered by the body per unit cross-section area. Just I am repeating the definition again. The force of resistance offered by the body per unit cross-section area or unit area. So, how we will calculate force of resistance offered by the body? Because that resistance is offering by the body, we can't decide the value of that particular resisting force. So, in that equilibrium condition, what I am doing? In this equilibrium, I can say the resisting force is equal to the applied force which we are producing on that body. So, the applied force which I am subjected or I am applying onto the body will be equal to the resisting force offered by the body. That resisting force per unit cross-sectional area, we call that as stress. Okay. So, what do you mean by a cross-section? Now, I'll say. So, what are the units for this stress? Stress generally represented as Newton per meter square, or we can simply say it as Pascal. So, in this SI units, we will say it as pascals or Newton per meter square. And then based on our uses and due to we are having so many type of units we are having now. So this Newton per meter square we can convert into Newton per mm square, or the Pascal we can mention it as kilopascals, megapascals. In that manner we will give the result of stress with Newton per meter square or Pascal units. So we are having a rectangular bar here. So this bar is having this is the rectangular bar. How we will say it as a rectangular bar? Because it is having the cross section as a rectangle. So when I cut into a section, I can observe the shape of a rectangle. Or in a cylindrical bar, when the length of the bar is like this and I am having this shape. And when we see a section or a cross section of the bar, when we want to see, I will say it as circular cross section. For that only I am representing. When we say rectangular bar, based on the cross section shape only we will give the name. Rectangular cross section it is having. Circular bar, circular cross section it is having. Based on these shapes, I can write the cross sectional area there. And based on the external force application, we can write external load by cross sectional area. So for this, I am giving a small condition. Simply, I am taking a rectangular bar of cross section. So in that cross section, I am subjecting some load with a force or load. We will generally mention load or force, and we have already given the units for stress. It is having Newton per meter square because load by area, that is having Newton per meter square, where the load or force is indicated with newtons. So in that rectangular bar, we are having some force P as shown in this figure. In this rectangular bar, I am giving a section XX. When I observe this section XX, there will be some resistance offered when we try to pull out or when I am trying to take out from the section, but at the section there is some resistance offered. So this resistance force only we need to use for the calculation. But how we will know this resisting force? Generally, this resisting force R will be equal to the external force P. So for this only we are taking an example, that action of a load P and the internal forces are acting at the section X. That internal force or internal resisting force, we will represent it as R, or generally we will write P as external force as well as internal resisting force. So after calculating that P, internal resisting force R is equal to P, we said external force is being equal to internal resistance offered by the body. That external force and internal resistance, I have got P. And the cross-sectional area of that rectangular bar, I have mentioned as A. A is the area of that XX or cross-section. This P by A is equal to stress. So using this condition, I can generally calculate the stress occurring inside the body when we apply 50 kilonewton load, or the area of that cross section is some 100 meters square. What is the stress in that body? Load by area. The output will be sigma, stress. So this is the indication for stress, and sigma we will generally use for normal stresses. That we will come in the next slide. So we have already known about this kilopascals, megapascals and gigapascals. Kilo is nothing but 10 power of 3 pascals. Mega is nothing but 10 power of 6 pascals. Giga is nothing but 10 power of 9 pascals. Now, we know what is stress. We are applying some force on the body. That force per unit area, we call it as stress. Then how many types of forces we will give? That many types of stresses we can get. So, based on the force of application, we can get different types of stresses. So, the first thing, I am classifying the stresses as two types. One is normal stress, another one is shear stress. So, in this normal stress, I am having another two, tensile and compressive. This is the sub-classification for normal stress. Normal stress is again divided as tensile stress and compressive stress, and then this is shear stress. So what is normal stress and what is shear stress? We will go into the next slide. So normal stress, when the loading application is perpendicular to the area of cross section. How it will apply? When we are having a bar like this and I say this as the cross section. So when the loading application is perpendicular to the cross section. This is my cross section, right? So perpendicular to the cross section, I am applying a load, whether into the body or outwards the body. I can have towards or I can have outwards from the body. So what is this normal stress? If the applied force is perpendicular to the resisting area. Which area is resisting that load? Our load should be perpendicular to that. That stress we call it as normal stress. The main indication or the main symbol we give for normal stress is sigma. We are indicating with a Greek letter sigma, and this sigma is equal to P by A. Already we have used this sigma in stress because stress generally, not in a normal way, we will indicate with sigma, but normal stress will have the main indication as sigma, load by area. Okay. So these normal stresses can be, just now only we have said, either tensile or in compressive manner. So tensile stresses and compressive stresses. How a tensile stress and compressive stress will come? In case of tensile stress, you can observe from the figure without knowing the definition as well. Simply I am having a bar with orange shape. Just observe this border. This orange color is the initial state of the bar, and then due to some pulling force, pull is nothing but taking out from the body. That pulling force is applied on the both ends of the body. So due to this pulling force, the member in this initial state in the orange color is getting converted into sky blue shape. See this color, bar after extension. As we are extending or we are trying to pull the bar, it is getting another shape or another length because of the application of this force. So the thing which we observe here is due to the application of that tensile force which is trying to expand or which try to pull the body, that stresses we call them as tensile stresses. So it is the stress induced in a body when it is subjected to two equal and opposite pulls. Just remember the word. Generally we will see some restaurants and theaters also will have these boards, pull and push. So when we say push, we need to compress. When we say pull, we need to drag towards us. So here the thing is happening, pulling. So I need to take out the bar. We are trying to extend the bar. During this condition I am getting tensile stresses. Okay. So this is a simple example. Here we are having a small bar. Two members are trying to pull out towards each other. That is the application of some tensile force on that body. So the next thing is compressive stress. So what do you mean by compressive stress? Simply the reversal thing of tensile stress. As the same bar is appearing here, but we are trying with some pushing force. So initial state of the bar is given with orange shade, and then we are applying some pushing force onto the bar. So after compression, it is getting another shape. The bar after compression, you can see the dimension is getting reduced. Initial length of the bar is reduced to new dimension. So as per the same condition, we are having another definition. Two opposite pushes, what we call in the numerical term, compressive force. The pulling force or compressive force is acting on the body, which there is a tendency of decrease in the dimension or decrease in the length. In which direction I am producing the load, in that direction it will reduce or decrease the dimension. So this is the simple example for application of a compression or compressive force application onto a beam member. Next thing is shear stresses. So we have completed stress classification as a normal stress and shear stress. In that normal stress, we have learned about tensile and compressive stresses. The next thing is shear stress. So in the normal stress, what we have observed, we are having a bar member. Either we will apply force like this or we will apply force. So either in the compressive or in the tensile manner, nothing but perpendicular to the area of cross section. Perpendicular to the area of cross section we will apply. That's why we call them as normal stress, because the stress is in normal direction. Now, in this case of shear stress, what is happening? Just observe this condition. The force is acting parallel to the area concerned. On which area you are observing? Here I am observing this as my area. So, this area I am having perpendicular force. Now, I am having parallel force on the area. So, when we have force that is parallel to the area which we are concerned, so this area will generate some forces, some stresses. So what is the thing we needed? When any member or any body is being subjected to two equal and opposite forces which are acting tangentially or parallelly. Please remember this word, tangential or parallel thing. Whenever we say tangential stress is occurring on the body, how do we call it tangent? When we have a circle like this, this is the tangent, because along the circle line, we will call that as a tangent. Again, I am saying, I am having a body or the surface like this. I am applying the force along the tangential manner for that body. So, due to this tangential force and considering the area on which the force is applying, observe area on which the force is applying. Using these two conditions, we will calculate shear stress. Tangential force per area, nothing but the parallel area on which the force is acting. So, the force is parallel to the area resisting the force on which it is acting, that phase only resisting. Then ekkadaithe ee force implement chestunnano, only that area will cause or will produce some resistance. So, we have mentioned a simple sentence. This is the difference between tensile compressive as well as shear. In case of tensile and compressive, we have observed perpendicular forces. In this condition, we have observed tangential forces. So, that is the main difference. And for this tangential stress, we have given a single notation for normal stresses. So, for normal, whether it is tensile or compressive, we indicate with sigma only. Tensile stress or compressive stress, the indication for stress is sigma only. But for shear stress, the indication is tau. This is another Greek letter indicated for the shear stresses. So again, this tau is equal to P by A only. But this P is generally the force which we are applying. But what this A indicates? The parallel area. Initially, that was perpendicular area. Now, it was the parallel area on which the force is acting. Here, I am applying tensile force or compressive force perpendicular. Here, I am applying shear in the parallel to that phase. So, this is a simple animation for getting the clarity. I am applying some compressive force. Just observe the direction. This is the force application direction and this is the area on which the force is acting. So, the compressive force is reducing or trying to compress the body. So, one type of compressive stress is subjected. So, in the same body, if we call it as shear stress, how it will apply? The compression, and here in case of shear, the force will be like this. Okay. So, these are some examples. when a bar member is having tensile stresses, it will have these extensions, and if it is having some compressive, it is having these compressive forces on that. And the same thing in case of shear stresses, as the same body is being subjected for the shear, we can observe two parallel tangential forces which are parallel to the area. On this area, parallelly they are applying. Here, perpendicular to the area, I am observing. So the next term after this stress, we are going into strain. So when we apply any force, there is a strong stress. So like when we are having so much of material to read, so we will have so much of burden on us. Then how we will release? We will show some expanding our timetable. So that thing we can observe here. So strain. What is the strain? Strain is nothing but the output shown by the body. When we offer any external force on the body, it will give some changes in its dimension. What is that change in dimension? See from the definition. When I am having a body which is being subjected to an external force, that force will cause some changes in the dimension. If we compress, like when you see your mother is preparing some chapati or puri, your mother will mix that batter, right? So continuously she will mix inside and outside. Because of the application of the force, that batter will get different shapes. Because of those applications, how that batter is responding, like a body also will give response. Those responses we observe here. So the change in dimension of the body is observed. Now coming to the definition, the ratio of change in dimension of the body to the original dimension. How much change we have observed by how much originally the dimension is. The ratio of these two, we call it as strain. If we observe the change in dimension along the length, so change in length by original length. If we observe the dimension in width of the body, so change in width by original width. In that way we will calculate strain. So just now we have said change in dimension by original dimension. If I calculate change in length delta L and I calculated original length, now the ratio of these two, this will be in some meters and this will be in some meters. The change in length by original length will have the ratio like this, and after getting the ratio, there is no units because it is having the ratio of same quantities. That's why it is a dimensionless quantity. We call it as it is having no units. So the strain is equal to change in dimension by original dimension. Now, based on the type of forces, again we are having different types of strains, as well as we are having same type of stresses like normal strains and shear strains. Another thing which is added here is volumetric strains. So, normal strain. In that again, tensile strain and compressive strain, and in volumetric strain as well as the shear strain are the main types of strains. So, first thing, normal strain. Same like the tensile stress and compressive stress. When that tensile force or compressive force, generally what we call that normal force. When any normal force is acting on a body, how it expands or responds, it will change its dimension. So the next name for normal is longitudinal, linear or normal strains. So when the area of cross section or when the loading application is perpendicular to the area of cross section, in that direction, when it is trying to expand along the length or when it is trying to compress along the length, we will observe some changes. Those changes we call them as linear changes or normal changes. So that change by original dimension, we say them as strains. So that longitudinal or linear or normal strain. The strain that changes length. In which direction I am applying force, that dimension we call it as length. So length of the line without changing the direction. So again, like the stresses, it will have two types, compressive stresses and tensile stresses. So, like here also we can have tensile strains and compressive strains. So, what is a tensile strain? As the tensile stress is very clear to you, we can directly say what is tensile strain. So, when I am applying any tensile force, F and F you can see from this picture. So, this force, the tensile force which is trying to expand, this tensile force is acting on the body. Initially the body is having some L naught length, but due to the application of the force, I have observed delta L increase in the length. So, this increase in the length by original length, I call it as tensile strain. So, here increase in the length divided by original length, that's why we call tensile strain as a positive parameter, because the dimension is increasing. So, increase in the length to the original length of the body, we say that as tensile strain. And the next thing, compressive. So, in the same manner, initially we are having a normal body, but when it is having some original length due to the application of the compressive force, the length of the body is getting reduced. So, how much amount it is reduced? Not the final length, how much amount it is decreased. So, that decrease in the length by original length, we call that as compressive strain. And the direction is coming towards the body, nothing but as the dimension is reducing, we call this compressive strain as a negative parameter. And the next thing, volumetric strain. So, when we are completely squeezing or giving stress or forces in all the directions, initially the volume is V and it is reduced by delta V, that decrease in the volume they have given. So, V is the original volume and the decrease in the volume is delta V. Now, the ratio of decrease in the volume to the original volume, we call it as volumetric strain. Here in this cube also you can observe V naught. This blue color body is the original body, and then due to the application of these forces, it has reduced to delta V. So, it has reduced by delta V and the final volume is V naught minus delta V. So, this is the final volume and this is the original volume. Difference of these two, we write it as change in the volume by original volume. And the last thing, shear strain. So, when we apply a shearing force, how it will do? It will try to release or deform. When this body, observe from here, here I am having a cube and this cube is having a fixed face. Either we can indicate with this as a fixed base, as the base is fixed, and I am applying this tangential force. We have mentioned shearing action is occurring due to the parallel or tangential forces only. So, this tangential force, what it does, it tries to deform or change the angle of the body. So, when the body is in the right angled condition, it tries to change the angle. So, this change in angle and will give the new shape. So, this angle change or this tilt or slide of the body can be called as shear strain. So, how we will calculate shear strain? Like in the tensile strain and compressive strain, we can observe some increase in the length by original length. Then what about this shear strain? In this shear strain, we will calculate how much this top layer has moved or at a particular height. What is the horizontal slide of that particular layer divided by height of the object. This slide divided by height of the object will give shearing strain. So, if I say this slide as x and height of the object as L, the shear strain phi is equal to x by L. So, shearing strain is defined as the ratio of relative displacement of any layer. If you want in the top layer, you can calculate the top layer's moment, or you want the middle layer, you can calculate the middle layer's moment at any layer to its perpendicular distance from fixed layer, where the body is fixed and up to which point you want to calculate the slide. So, the height and horizontal slide ratio of these two will give shearing strain. Generally, we will write it as tan phi parameter, but as it is very small, we can directly write shear strain as phi. Okay. So this is a small condition. The shear strain slide is indicated with phi, and it can be defined as the change in the right angle, how much angle it has changed, and the angle of deformation, it can be termed as shearing strain. Like the shear tensile strain and compressive strain, it is also a non-dimensional parameter. Why it is also a non-dimensional parameter? Because it is the ratio of horizontal change by vertical height of the layer. So, ratio of two dimensions, two lengths or two values of same quantities. So, delta L by H also will be defined as no unit condition, and as it is being an angle of distortion, we mention with radians. So, up to this we will conclude today's topic. So, what we have